Hello, hello to all. Welcome back to another Jovian Space System stream. I will be your commentator for today, Brandon. I am the COO and lead Skybound officer here at Jovian Space Systems. It has been quite a couple weeks here at Jovian. Obviously, we had the first ever flight test of Skybound, which was extremely exciting. However, the result was not. We'll dive into that shortly. But on your screen and on the pad today is Skybound and in its next test flight article. This is the second stage for the second flight test, and we are going to be testing it to make sure that it will work for this upcoming flight.
Stage
So
2
we
pressurization.
there you go. It was quite a fun launch day, obviously. We had a couple holds during the count. However, that didn't stop us from evidently lifting off. However, once we lifted off, we immediately knew some things weren't right, as we had one of the engines shut down by the flight computers because, it wasn't good. It didn't have any good propulsion on it. So it had something called a hard shutdown, which is basically when the engine shuts down in a very bad way. It exploded and damaged the two engines right next to each other, basically making them out of use too. We have a 3-engine out capability, which basically means that we can lose 2 engines before things start to go wrong. We reach a third, it's bad. We had 3, and they just kept failing. We had a microscopic hole in the tank that was discovered after the launch. It was believed to have originated from the
Stage 2
production
tank
process.
depressurization start.
It's believed that microscopic puncture originated from the production process. It was so small that it was unnoticeable to anything. We swept over the vehicle, obviously, but we couldn't see it. So that caused a leak and a bunch of depressurization in the tank, which also caused more engine failures. So in the future, we will add better engine systems for the engines and reinforce those tanks on both stages, which is another test for today. We're gonna pressurize stage 2 to flight level. We would pressurize it to about 1 bar short of pressure in a test. However, we are going to go to full pressure hold it today, and then we are also going to see, depending on how its systems are, we might fire that Proxima vacuum engine. The third and final failure was the FTS. The vehicle started pitching over out of its flight trajectory, which isn't the best thing. So usually that would require FTS. However, as I stated in our little post-flight update, there were severed lines after that hard shutdown, and it caused some of those lines to be separated and severed, meaning that the FTS did not blow up. In the future, we'll have backup lines and backup systems for the FTS that, no matter what, it will blow up the vehicle in case of need. And if the lines are broken between any of the flight computers and the rest of the vehicle will automatically terminate, or FTS. So we will most likely not see that FTS armed today. We've already conducted some tests, and it has shown great promise to blow the vehicle up, which is exactly what we want in case of an emergency situation where the vehicle could be heading somewhere we don't want, like a populated city. But today is the beginning of the return to flight phase with today's
go for tank fuel start at T-minus 10 minutes.
Go for fueling there. Skybound uses RP1, which is a form of kerosene. RP1 rocket propellant 1 is used on rockets, which is very cool indeed. We also use liquid oxygen as our oxidizer. Very common fuel. It is proven to work. So is RP1. RP1 has been used since the Apollo Saturn V days with their F1 engines. That's not the only thing Jovian has been up to. Recently, we've been working on satellites that have been launching on board of Saturn Aerospace's rockets. Those are it's pretty cool. So we will keep updating you guys about that when the time comes. So far, everything on the vehicle continuing to look good. You should have that fuel load beginning right now. Let's wait. Let's see if we hear a call out.
Stage 2 fuel load underway.
And there we go. Stage 2 fuel load underway. Now that RP1 and that liquid oxygen load will load into the vehicle for that cryogenic proofing test with the potentially added static fire of that Proxima vacuum engine. You can see that you can see it venting. That is a good sign that everything is going well. We should be hearing callouts for that stress testing momentarily.
Fuel tank pressures are rising, expected 150% of nominal values.
That's a good sign there. That'll basically test the vehicle and see how good that reinforcement of the tanks are at 150% more than usual. Than expected flight levels that would be experienced during flight. Now, it is going to get pretty extreme. Now, we will most likely, we'll have to see what the teams think here, but we will most likely depressurize the vehicle to an extent, get it to below, we will get it to testing pressures, then we will hopefully fire that single Proxima vacuum engine, if all is well. So far, there are no indications that anything is going wrong. We're hearing good callouts over the nets that all of the pressures within inside the tanks and the fuel loads are nominal. Should be hearing a engine chill, that Proxima vacuum engine, shortly.
Proxima vacuum chill.
Beautiful day.
Initial.
There we go. The good news there. It's a beautiful day here in Mahia. A little bit cloudy, however, still a beautiful day. Mahia is located inside of New Zealand. Down under, as they say. That is where Jovian Space Systems launches from. In the future, we will have more rockets to launch from here, hopefully, though. So stay tuned for updates on any new future programs from Jovian Space Systems in the future. But for now, all of our teams are focused on Skybound and getting it into orbit, and then flying the first ever customer payloads into low Earth orbit. That Skybound first flight was the first. Good news there. That was the first flight we have had in 6 months. You'll remember we had the Europa 9 flight, Fiery Tornadoes. It's been a while since we've talked about that. That was the last launch we did with that current programs, but now we're all new. with Skybound and more stuff to come in the future. So if you'd like, please join the team, as it will be very nice to have you here. And also in the future, book your payload with us. Now, obviously, right now we're still testing, but eventually we're not going to be testing. So watch for announcements in our Discord server. Join that in the description down below. Certainly an exciting testing day here at Bahia. And it is about to get even more exciting with just about 5 minutes, 45 seconds away from a hopeful T0 of that, where we will see that Proxima vacuum engine roar to life on board the second stage, the flight article for the second flight test, the second stage for the second flight test. A lot of twos in this mission. But we're hoping that we too will make it to a successful orbit so we can start flying customer payloads and internal payloads into low Earth orbit and eventually beyond. We're waiting for a call out to hear about that tank pressures. The vehicle is fully loaded. We did hear that on the nets earlier. I don't know if it was picked up, as some of the call outs we have aren't necessarily picked up over the webcast. However, they are said. So we'll see to hear about that very shortly. It's about 4 minutes 35. Anticipation is rising here at Mahia, where we are stress testing that second stage. And hopefully we'll see that Proxima engine roar to life. It's about 4 minutes now.
Fuel tank
Vehicle
pressures
should be at about
at nominal levels.
Good news there. We should be hearing a call from propellant. So now we have added leak sensors. We will see if there are any propellants leaking. Hopefully we hear about that there are none. However, if there are, it is valuable insight indeed, so we can learn where it is and where to fix it. Fuel lines have disconnected, meaning that we are fully loaded, which is a great sign after we are stress testing the vehicle that there are no leaks and we don't need to keep on that replenish system. Replenish system keeps replenishing the vehicle, as the name implies, with added propellants.
Fuel
No fuel. Oh, here we go. And that is amazing news right there. That means that all the team's work by reinforcing those tanks paid off here. That's one of those issues complete. Now, we obviously still have the first stage to deal about, but on the second stage, we also had some microscopic leaks that were growing as the flight was continuing.
Stage 2 propellant levels are dropping at off nominal rate. Small leak detected.
That is not good. Now, we do have systems on board the vehicle that will try and snuff that.
100% of flight levels.
So we will see to hear more about that. However, not a great news there. However, after a while at increased pressures above flight levels, it is not nominal. So we'll hear another call out, as that leak is most likely we already have systems on board the vehicle that will try and kind of fill that leak up. So we'll hear about that, and if those systems work, we will keep the vehicle at flight levels, at flight pressures. We'll wait and hear about that.
Tank.
Just about
killing started.
leak healing has started. The leak healing system is a proprietary technology developed by Jovian Space Systems to repair leaks or holes in the tank on board the launch pad so that we don't have to send teams back out to the launch pad and scrub for the day or roll back. So right now it is only for extremely tiny leaks. Now, because that system is active right now, it means that that leak was very small, which is good news as we can reinforce that particular spot as we have systems that tell us where it is. We're going to reinforce that particular spot so that leak doesn't happen again. That system is also in the first stage, so we will hear if we have a hold just to repair that tank. Wouldn't be surprised if we do, as we are only T-minus 30 seconds.
Hold.
And yep, we've had a hold. We'll wait to hear what it's about, although I think we already know. We'll just wait and hear, though. We'll wait and hear from mission control. We are paused as we are holding at about T-minus 30 seconds.
Hold due to final checkouts and leak checkouts.
Yep, exactly what we thought. We heard on the nets that that leak was sealed, meaning that we are no longer leaking propellants. However, we are going to just check to make sure that we are not leaking and for final checkouts on board the vehicle. So we're waiting for those checkouts to be completed. Those checkouts we can recycle if needed today.
Fuel
So
lines
if we
extend,
have to,
replenish.
all right, so replenish. That's most likely due to that fuel leak. Shouldn't take long to fill it back up. If that hole was small, probably only would have grew a couple inches or centimeters in total. So we're still at flight pressures, and it is a good sign that we are no longer leaking any propellants, as even when you're stress testing, even if you have the strongest body, after long periods of time with maximum pressure, the vehicle doesn't really like it, so it will get holes in it. Well, at flight levels, it is not leaking, which means it is good that reinforcements to the tank have worked. All right, so we should be coming up on that final go no go poll for a static fire here today. Obviously, in that hold, teams are still checking out systems, but it does sound like everything is going good. So we should be hearing a final go no go poll if teams want to proceed with a static fire test today, as obviously we want them to. However, if the vehicle health is not nominal, we will not proceed with.
All
And that
stations,
venting
this is
has.
LD.
Oh,
Go no go poll for static fire. Range is go. Propellant is go. And propulsion is go. Copy.
and
LD
we are
is
go for
go for the
static
static fire.
fire.
Resume count on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Fuel line retraction.
So I will be quiet. I will be quiet here. Fuel line retraction, no leaks, no nothing. So hopefully we see that Proxima vacuum engine roar to life today. I will be quiet. We are about T-minus 20 seconds away from a hopeful static fire. Enjoy it. Cycling through camera views.
Ignition.
And ignition! Oh! Looks like we've had a bit of an explosion there, however. Everything looks nominal. Beautiful camera views going for about a 35-second static fire, full duration.
Chamber pressures nominal.
Chamber pressures are nominal. That Proxima vacuum engine showing no signs of stopping at all. We might actually bypass that full duration and go farther if we want to. We'll hear for a call out about that. Nope. Throttle down, no leaks at all. Propulsion remaining nominal. Throttling down that engine. We'll see if they shut it down or if they throttle it back up.
Throttle up.
And they're throttling it up, so it appears we're going to continue on. We already saw some gimbal testing. So that steers the vehicle, along with the reaction control system, also known as the RCS. Look at that. All systems are remaining nominal as we hear over the nets here.
Nominal. Chamber pressures nominal.
Yep, there we go.
Loss of thrust.
Loss of thrust. It's still not done. The little Proxima vac that could. Doing the unthinkable that wasn't so unthinkable. Still gimbaling. Everything continuing to look nominal. No leaks. Even at flight pressure, showing those reinforcements are working. So are those engine improvements and vehicle improvements to make those engines burn nominally. But it is continuing on. You see, like, those gimbals have stopped, most likely indicating that the gimbaling tests are done, as we did a lot of them. So we'll hear about those shortly, see if they were nominal or not. Gimbal test complete. Sounds nominal, though. So we did hear a loss of thrust. I'm not sure about that. However, it is still burning.
Pressures are off nominal values, continuing to burn.
Interesting call out there. You'd think with off nominal you'd shut it down, but apparently not. Looks like it's gonna gimbal a little more. We might burn it till it's dry, but even with off nominal pressures, it does still appear nominally. Close-up view there. You can see the plume not as much. It's like some more gimbal tests. Still going.
Fuel flow rates are off nominal. Shut down.
And shut down. We'll hear for full duration what's called. Let's see. The engine was red because it was hot, as our CEO loves to say. Looks like it's still gimbaling a little. Don't know why that happened. Why that's happening.
Post engine fire gimbal tests.
Post engine fire gimbal test.
Expected fuel line extension.
Expected fuel line extension. Those clouds are moving awfully fast in the background. I'll hear if it was a full duration and if it was nominal or not shortly.
Vehicle health is good.
That's nominal.
Pad cooldown procedure.
It's like we're using the water deluge system to cool down the pad.
Pad cooldown procedure complete. Vehicle temperatures, pad temperatures are nominal. Fuel line extension. Vehicle fuel top off. Static fire was beyond expectations. Engine lasted longer than expected. Loss of thrust was experienced. All teams look over data.
Right, so it does sound nominal.
Rising temperature back up to 150%. Teams will be looking at the data to see if we can increase that further.
We'll see. So waiting to hear from the teams about some more data. But
Vehicle
we'll
temp
keep listening
pressure is
in.
now rising to 160%.
Ooh, all right. That is very high.
Fuel depressurization.
All right, so it is depressurizing now. We'll see data from the test, but that also looks like um a detank of the vehicle.
Vehicle
Yes, it
preheat.
does.
Pressure relief valve has been opened. Fuel line retraction. Test has been completed. Vehicle performed normally.
And good news there, vehicle performed nominally. The vehicle performed very well. That testing has been completed for the day. Great news there, as we will roll this thing back to the pad, to the production site, do final work on it, and then roll it out for the last round of testing. But in between there, we might have some stage 1 testing, but this exact testing. That test will be even better and even more needed, as that's what failed last time. So we will have that testing shortly, not today, however, but maybe within the next coming days or week. But that is going to end it today with a nominal test. There's really no need to keep dragging this out. So we're going to end today's stream. I've been your commentator for today, Brandon. I am the Chief Operations Officer. COO is what it stands for, and lead of Skybound Operations. LSO is what it also is the acronym. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you soon.